G'day everyone, it's Adam from Visa and Citizenship Lawyers, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the travel exemption ground immediate family member. This ground is the immediate family member ground is available to people who are in a relationship with an Australian citizen or permanent resident. Now, to be in a relationship, we're looking at spouse or de facto partner. Spouse means married, so you're married to an Australian citizen or permanent resident, or you're in a de facto relationship. Now, what is a de facto relationship? I'm actually going to do a separate video shortly after this one, going into depth about de facto relationship. But basically, well, it's what the Department of Home Affairs website says a de facto relationship is, the immigration definition of a de facto relationship. And that is a relationship where you've been living together for at least 12 months, or you're in a registered relationship. Okay. Now, the immediate family member category is actually, let's use the word good. It's a good category to lodge under if you're lucky enough to be in a relationship with an Australian citizen or permanent resident, because the compelling compassionate ground, which I've done a previous video on, is a very high bar. It's a difficult ground to try and get an application under. And if you do have the choice of lodging under the immediate family member ground, then I would certainly be encouraging you to give that a go. Now, one thing I see with immediate family member category travel exemptions is inconsistencies in outcomes. So what we're seeing are people being granted travel exemptions who have spent hardly any time together at all. And I'm talking about weeks and maybe 1 or 2 months. We've seen travel exemptions get approved under the immediate family member category. And then on the other hand, we've had people come to us, and even some clients that we're still trying to get approvals for, who have been in relationships for quite a few months, even closer to the 12-month mark, and still are being refused. Okay, so we've got mass inconsistencies in results, and that's the one thing that hasn't changed throughout this whole travel exemption program. Now, the one thing that I believe, in my opinion, and what I'm seeing from helping many people with these travel exemptions, the one thing that is probably the thing that most people can't do anything about at this point in time, because they are separated. And one of the things that I believe is the main reason that people are being refused or continuing to be refused under the immediate family member category is the limited time that they have spent together physically in a relationship. And I'm getting all these people, and I've had a couple of conversations today with clients, and they say, but Adam, we're still together. COVID's been going since March. Our relationship, yes, it only started in October last year, but we've been together through this whole period. Isn't that like testament in itself that we're serious about each other when we're living in separate parts of the world? Look, you don't have to convince me. My girlfriend's sitting in Ukraine at the moment, and we're doing the same as many people at this point in time, a long distance relationship. My relationship's actually quite long. It's been about 7 years, but I know a lot of people who are in relationships for a much shorter time than that, but during their relationship, their relatively short duration of their relationship, they've spent a whole huge chunk apart from each other physically during COVID, and they're still as strong as they have ever been. And they're saying, well, isn't that testament in itself that we're still serious about each other? Well, no, it's not necessarily in the Department of Home Affairs' eyes. Just repeat again, the number one reason I believe that people are being refused and continue to be refused on the immediate family member is the lack of limited time spent physically together. Now, there's other things to be careful of under the immediate family member category. That is, what visa are you intending to arrive in Australia on? Is it a visitor visa? Is it a work and holiday visa? Is it a student visa? Those visas that I just mentioned all have what's called genuine temporary entrant criteria on it. Don't know what genuine temporary entrant criteria is? You should know what it is. It's very important, and it's something which you need to sit down and speak to a lawyer about for about half an hour to get your head around it. It's that serious. And basically, in a nutshell, genuine temporary entrant criteria is saying that your intentions are to travel to Australia as a temporary purpose, for temporary purposes such as to visit Australia. Okay, and at this point in time, holidays are out, visiting is out. It's not an option. You can't say, I want to come to Australia for 2 weeks, 3 weeks to see my fiance or my partner or something along those lines. Holidays are out. There's people just aren't being granted exemptions for visits or holidays. People are being granted exemptions where they're stating that their intentions are to go one way, to go to Australia to live, or go to Australia for a long period of time, like 6 months, 12 months, etc. And how are people doing that when they're on visas such as visitor visas or short-term visas, when they've got genuine temporary entry criteria? It's a real conflict, a catch-22, if you like, where people aren't going to be granted the travel exemption if they say they're going to visit Australia for a short time. However, they then go and say that they're visiting Australia for a long time, 6 months, 12 months, and they're on these visas which have genuine temporary entry criteria. Look, it is possible. We have many clients, and I'm talking about many clients, who are successfully coming to Australia on these short-term visas and then with the intentions of staying in Australia and launching partner visas. Just something that needs to be approached very carefully with specific advice around your specific circumstances. Okay, so immediate family member category. Look, there are many people being approved under it, so it is something to be quite hopeful of. It's just something you need to consider the length of time that you've been together physically as something that which may come up as an issue for you repeatedly. Okay. The other thing you need to take into account when looking at the immediate family member category is it's not just good enough to say that your spouse, that you're married, or that you're in a de facto relationship, you've registered your relationship. You're going to more than likely need more. Many people need much more evidence than that. And what I'm talking about there is the 4 pillars. So the financial, household, social, and level of commitment documents. I am going to be doing another video on each of those categories individually, but there is quite a bit of information on that on the Department of Home Affairs website. That's called the 4 pillars. So we've had people who have lodged with a marriage certificate being refused, people lodged with a registered relationship certificate being refused. It takes a lot more than just certificates to be granted an exemption most times. And that includes detailed statutory declarations or statements, if you like. It depends on where you are in the world and what would you prefer to do. Outlining your circumstances, outlining the 4 pillars and how you meet the definition of immediate family member.